Hi, guys, and welcome back to AuDHD and Then Some. I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm joined by someone whose work has been making a real difference in the neurodivergent community. Today, I'm chatting with Danielle Sullivan, a neurodivergent coach, educator, community builder, and founder of Neurodiverging. No, Diverging. Diverging,
Diverging.
yes.
You got it. Yeah.
Danielle supports autistic and ADHD people around the world to better understand their brains, reduce shame, strengthen emotional regulation, prevent burnout, and create lives that work with their neurodivergence rather than against it. She's also the host of a Neurodivergent podcast and has recently released her first book, which is Embracing Your ADHD Brain, a neurodiversity affirming self-help guide for teenagers. Danielle, thank you so much for joining me today. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here, Ellie. I'm really excited to be here as well, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, me too. And I love the fact that I've been speaking to so many ADHD women lately, and it's so good. We finally have a voice,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. So for anyone who hasn't come across your work before, tell me, who is Danielle?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you what I do for work, and then we can
Okay.
figure out the rest of it because I don't
Yeah,
know if I know. But
perfect.
I I'm a late identified neurodivergent person. I'm AuDHD, a couple other things. You know, all of us have a list at this point. You get your first
Yeah.
diagnosis, and then you start piling. And I was diagnosed after one of my children was diagnosed, and in 2020, right before the everything happened.
Corona.
Um, yeah, right before
Yeah.
Corona, I started a podcast, and I happened to people were home, and the podcast got bigger than I ever thought it could have
That
gotten.
worked out quite well for
It was
you.
super
Did you organise
accidental.
Corona for that?
What did you say?
Did you make Corona so
Oh
that
my
would happen?
gosh, no, I wouldn't dare. And it really did harm so many people, but it was good for me, both
Yeah.
professionally and personally, because
Me too. As an
just
ADHD
being
person,
at
I didn't have
home.
to leave the house.
Yeah,
It was so good.
yeah. It was challenging for so many of my family and friends, and people died, and also it was a very calm, regulated couple of months at my house.
Me too.
Yeah, but I started the podcast to reach out to other people. And at the time, I was still undiagnosed. So it was called Neurodiverging because I was like, okay, I am diverging in some way, but
Yeah.
I don't know how yet.
Mm.
Um, and then from there, sort of built up lots of coaching programs based on what the folks who I was talking to in the podcast seemed to need. Went and got certified, did all the things, and now I have a book out, which is so exciting, for teens, and
Why
it's
did
coming out
you
in
choose?
September.
Why
Yeah.
did you choose to for teenagers first? What is it? Because you've got a teenager.
Not well, I guess I do technically have a teenager now. My eldest just turned 13 this year.
Oh, you
Some
do.
of it, to be completely frank with you, was what the publisher was looking for,
Yeah.
and just talking to them. But the other thing was, I wasn't diagnosed till I was 32, 34, something like that, after I'd
Same.
already had two babies.
Mm.
And like many things could have been a lot easier in my life had I had any information about why
Yeah.
everything was hard.
I
And I
think we're
really
all like
feel
that at the
like,
moment.
yeah, I think a lot of us are the same. I also
Yeah.
talk to a lot of, neurodivergent people just with the podcast and with my business. And I hear that story so often, like if I just
Yeah.
been caught earlier, etc. But then even the folks who are caught earlier are sometimes coming in with so much like internalized shame and ableism because they're comparing themselves and how they do things to how neurotypical people
Yeah.
should do things. And it's like, you can't do things the way neurotypical people do. You're not neurotypical. Like,
It's probably because they've been through the school system, and
yeah.
when you've gone through the school system, like my all my children. So I've got three older children that are in their 20s, and then
Mm-hmm.
I've got a 9-year-old. I couldn't have homeschooled my older ones because
Mm-hmm.
there were three of them. I'm neurodivergent. I
Yeah.
was a child myself at the time,
Mm-hmm.
practically. I was a young adult, and I couldn't have homeschooled them. But I homeschool my youngest daughter now because I just feel for neurodivergent people. And if you find the right school, yes, it's great for you. And not everyone can do it because you've got work and, sensory and stuff like that. But I just feel once we've been in that school system for so long, I always compare it to all along I was being taught to be a fish by a fish, and I would think, fuck, why can't I swim? Like, shit, what's wrong with me? And about 100 times a day I would beat myself up and everyone would beat me up. And do you know what? I realized that the most powerful thing, and I realized way after my diagnosis, is I'm not actually a fish.
Yeah.
And they're fish and they're teaching me to be a fish, but I can't be a fish, and I'm never ever gonna be a fish. So I have to accept that. So I'm not gonna put my child into an environment where they expect her to be a fish, and chances are, whether it's nature or nurture, she's not a fish as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's so good. I also had a rough time. I think at the time I thought I was doing okay at school, but in retrospect, I had a tough time at school, and I just did not realize. I thought everybody had a tough time at school, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We think that, oh, you know, we're so used to accepting it. It's okay. We'll take some more. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get out of the school system and you're thrown into whatever you do as an adult, whether that's like more school or work or whatever. And a lot of times you just don't have the skills, and the stuff school prepared you for is not actually realistic, even if it prepared you well. And I will say my kids are also homeschooled currently, and it is hard.
Perfect.
And I'm not always like sure that it's the right choice, but I am sure that there's not a school locally that would be a better fit than, you know. Yeah. So anyway, I wrote it for teens partly because I feel like, you know, there's tons of services for adults out there to work on all this internalized stuff. But for like teens and kids who are really creating their identities in that stage, like really starting to understand themselves as different humans from their parents and from society, it's like, this is a great time to like teach you how your brain works and give you some kind of identity formation exercises, like really help you work through, what are your values? What do you think is important? Like, what do you want to put out there in your life as you go through? Like, how do you find people you trust and love, and how do you be in relationship with them, and all those kinds of things that like I certainly didn't get as a teen. And
do you think does it just cater to, like, who is it specifically catered to? ADHD, AuDHD, neurodivergent, could non-neurodivergent people, like, who is your target market?
So the book is, I have it right here. It's Embracing Your ADHD Brain, an actually helpful guide for teens. So it's for ADHD teens, many of whom will have additional whatevers, right? Because AuDHD is a thing.
Hand in hand.
ADHDers have executive function challenges, have OCD, like there's all whatever. So whoever you are, if you identify with ADHD, at least partly, it'll be a good fit. What it really is, though, and it's for teens and young adults, I would say, is the primary resource, and then for their adults, right, for their teachers and professionals and parents who maybe have old-fashioned understandings of what ADHD is and isn't, because a lot of what we do in the book is just, the whole first bit is just busting myths. Like, we used to think ADHD was this, but actually that's not what we see. That's not what we see when we really look at humans.
When I used to take my kids to school 20 years ago, someone used to say, my kid's ADHD, and I'd be like, how? This is before I knew that I was, you know, they'd be like, my kid's ADHD, and I'd be like, how do you know? And they'd be like, they're so naughty. And I'd be like, now I realise, and I think I wasn't naughty as a kid. I was very, I asked questions, but I was very compliant. In fact, I was a people pleaser. You know, I think still people have that misconception that, especially back then, that if you're ADHD, you must be naughty. And also someone used to say to me, and before I got diagnosed, they used to say, I think your child's autistic. And I used to be really offended when people said my child was autistic, because I didn't know about autism, and I thought that meant that they were inadequate or they wasn't intelligent. And all of my children are super, like, gifted intelligent. So I didn't understand. I thought that was an insult. And I think before you know about, and little did I know I was neurodivergent myself. But the thing is, I think before you learn or you dive into this world, before you're made to dive into this world, you have these misconceptions. Because I remember my dad is the most neurodivergent person I've ever met in this world, but he's 80, right? So when I came home after my diagnosis and I said to him, Dad, I'm autistic and you're autistic too. And he was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. And it took me a long time to break down, no, there is nothing wrong with you, because we've all been pre-programmed with this misconception.
Yeah.
So people like you and stuff making these books are so helpful.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and that's part of, I this thing took me like 3 years to do. It was a lot of work. And also I keep thinking, like, if it just helps a couple people, it will have been worth it, because, I don't want my kids to go through, or anyone's kids to go through what I went through and what I know a lot of people in our generation went through. And I, kids these days are so much more open to neurodivergence and neurodiversity than anybody in my generation was. But, they're working with adults. They're working with their parents and their teachers and their coaches and people who might have bias around, like just what you said, like if you're autistic, you're not.
We can't help it. I judged autistic people, and I am autistic.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think bias is normal, and also it's our job to like try to notice it when we can, right, and fix it, or start to fix it. It takes a long time. I'm not trying to make it like an easy thing, but I think both are true. We can normalize that everybody's got biases, and that's part of being a human. And also, when you notice them, that's a really good opportunity to be like,
self-work.
Let's be curious about that.
That's the first step, is noticing them. That's priceless. Like, that's the best thing about it. Does it have strategies in your, like, so what is the base of the book?
Yeah, so the whole first section is basically like, welcome to neurodiversity, and it gives a little bit of history about, I mean, again, this is for middle grades and teens, so we're not trying to go like highly academic, but it gives a little history of the neurodiversity movement and what people were fighting for. And it gives a couple of examples of common neurodiversities that people don't even think of. So like, for example, being left-handed is technically, a kind of neurodivergence, right? It's a way that your brain is wired differently from the rest of the population. Used to be stigmatized, is hopefully less stigmatized.
When I was at school, they would try and make you stop. And I didn't go to a religious school, but I know, a lot of my counterparts that went to Islamic or Christian schools, they were told, no, the left hand, I'm a Muslim, the left hand is dirty. So, that's what you wipe your bum with,
Yeah.
So, completely. Yeah.
And I think like there's reasons, and also it's based in your brain, right? You can learn to use both hands, kind of, right?
Mask.
Yeah, you can mask it, but it's not something that like you're wrong about. It's just what your brain is doing, right? It's not a choice, is kind of what I'm saying. There's other ones too, like, sometimes when you get certain viruses, if they cross the blood-brain barrier and affect your brain, your brain has been changed technically. That's a neurodivergence, because you've had this illness.
I didn't even know. So, I didn't know that.
Certain seasonal allergies can technically cause neurodivergence, right? So there's just things that like we take for granted as normal that are fall under this umbrella. And so these are just examples of like, to help people think through what have I been assuming, right, about what being ADHD means or being autistic means. And then another thing we do really early on is we talk about the name ADHD, right? Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And we say,
I have not heard that for many years. I even forgot it, to be honest.
Yeah. We kind of just break it down, and we say, like, what does this imply about the people who fall under this category? And if you could rename it, what might you rename it, right? That's one of the first exercises we do, because I really want kids to think about, I mean, they're being called disordered. And also a ton of ADHDers they don't have attention deficit. They may or may not be hyperactive. And hyperactive is a judgmenty word anyway. It's like, hyperactive compared to what? Like, compared to who?
Yeah, exactly. So whose perception?
Yeah. So we break that down right away, and give them opportunities to think through, like, what would you call it? Like, if we were going to rename this thing, which we should, what should we rename it? And then the rest of the book, I'll be completely honest, it's stuff I use for ADHD clients. It is appropriate for ADHDers, but I also used it as an excuse to put out into the world all of my, like, 101 identity work for newly diagnosed neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
So the rest of the book, I would say, actually could be used by adults who are neurodivergent of any diagnosis, but it has been tailored for ADHDers, and it is like laid out in a ADHD friendly way. But it's a lot of like, what are your values? What are your strengths? How do you form relationship? How do you handle emotions? a lot of us have emotional dysregulation, or, we have big feelings, very strong feelings.
And I think that's one of the reasons, I really suffered all through,
Yeah.
specifically the teenage years. I don't know if it's misdiagnosed or diagnosed with BPD to begin with, not autism, not
Me
ADHD.
too.
And this is a really common thing. And every time I meet someone with BPD, I say to them, hang on, are you sure? Because I've met so many people that it was a thing for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lost my train of thought a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. We were talking about, maybe it was about
Yeah, so
feelings?
my emotions have been so affected, but I don't think a lot of people know that is an ADHD thing. I think people assume ADHD means you're jumping off the walls, you're crazy, you're susceptible to addiction and crime. I don't think they realize all the other things that come with it.
Yeah.
Which could also be really positive things. So the other day, I've been talking a lot lately about my AuDHD and all of the crappy bits, because don't get me, some of it's really ruined my life.
It could be really frustrating. Yeah.
It's more ruined my life because I wasn't aware, and I spent a long time wondering what was wrong with me. If I was born with the manual, hello, you are a new neurodivergent being, it would have been perfect. But I was trying to be something for so many years. So I think that was what was so shit for me. But now I'm good. But I've been trying to reframe that and actually say, okay, you know what? We're lucky we're neurodivergent, because I used to think when I was a child, do you remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Yes, of course. We love that in my household. My sisters and I
so
watch
did we.
it like every Friday.
I thought I was Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I'll tell you why. Because I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I felt like I could recognize patterns. I felt magical. And I didn't know why. I thought maybe I was psychic. Maybe I was going to get some powers one day. I just knew that there was something inherently different about me. And I thought like psychic, lots of different things went through my head. So when I found out it was AuDHD, I realized, you know what, we are so good at pattern recognition. We are some of the best people at that. And I asked people, like, I have a Facebook group with, I think, like 50,000 people in it. And I ask a question every night at 6:00, sometimes negative stuff, sometimes positive. And if I ask them what is their positive trait, a lot of people say pattern recognition, and my big one is justice. Justice for trans, justice for Palestine, justice for everything. Like justice is my thing. So we do have so many bits honing in on them and moving away from what is typical things that are good for people and what can we do.
Yeah, I agree really hard with everything you just said.
Yeah, and I'm so glad.
I feel like we have so many strengths, both as individuals and as a group. And we've been sort of trained to look away from our strengths and just notice what we're not doing well. And part of what I try to do in my coaching, and hopefully which comes through in the book, is to start looking at where you're doing well and build on that and build on that. And like, sometimes you're going to have a weak skill and you're going to need to sit there and buff that skill, right? And that's like part of life and being an adult. But a lot of times it's like you're actually really good at a lot of stuff and you're just not working to your strengths. And if we can just shift you just 2% a little bit over to noticing what you're good at and working more in that area, your life's going to change like enormously overnight, because you're not focused on what's not going well anymore. You're focused on where you have power in the world, right? And what you can do with all of your strengths.
And especially if we find something, I spent all my life masking. I'm such a social chameleon. I don't even know what I like and who I am anymore. I don't really know. So I'm finding that out, but I don't know what's a lie to myself and what's not. So I'm learning that. So all my life I've tried to fit in with people, and I've had these obsessions and these hyper focuses, and for the last couple of years it's been understanding myself. And so it's been AuDHD. So I thought, you know what? Sometimes I research AuDHD until 5:00 in the morning. It's definitely my hyper focus. The clue's in the freaking name. People are like, why are you so obsessed with AuDHD? I'm AuDHD. It is an obsessive thing. I decide I'm going to lean into it now, because that's my hyper focus. I'm going to work around that. The same with, my son, he's 19, and the only thing he spoke about for years and years is the guitar. And
Yeah.
he's very, very intelligent, like in maths, English, everything. But I can't see him working because he is just very unreliable and gets very burnt out for weeks on end. And I said, then you go and you learn every single thing about guitar that you already know, and you make sure you're better than every single guitar person ever, and you can fix every bit, and you do that. We just need to be trained to do what we can do, because what we can do, we're so good at it.
Yeah, because we are so interested and engaged, like you said. And I also I don't know your kiddo, but I work with a ton of folks who are I don't know what it's called in the UK, I'm sorry, but in the US we often call it 2E. It's twice exceptional. And it's folks who have
Gifted and
really high
talented.
strengths. Tell me again, sorry.
Gifted and talented,
Gifted
I
and
guess.
talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, but twice exceptional is like you are gifted and talented, but also you have significant weakness in some area. So these are folks like your kiddo who are like wildly strong in an area, and also maybe executive function is really poor, or maybe
but can't get out of bed for 2 weeks
can't get
because
out of
they're
bed
burnt out.
Yeah. So that's a lot of the folks I work with are in that category of like working at Google, right? Like are the only person in 500 miles who knows how to fix this specific instrument, like have these really specific strengths, and also still like struggle. And you could take those folks and you could be like, okay, we're going to put you on a schedule and we're going to medicate you to heck, and we're going to make sure you have people with you all the time to make sure you're getting up and do all the things. And if that person wants to do that, they should do that. I'm not trying to judge like that kind of way.
That works for some.
That works for some folks, and it can be really helpful for some folks. But for some of us, we just want to do the thing we're really good at, make a decent living from it if we can, and enjoy our little hyper focuses.
I think that's why a lot of us go into entrepreneurial stuff. But it's, it's that having that belief that you can be an entrepreneur. And I don't think a lot of us, I know that I didn't until very, very recently have any belief in myself. So to be honest, I'm very highs and lows, right? I'm either an alcoholic or not a drinker. Like I can't do moderation, okay? So I'm one end of the scale or the other. So I never had any self-worth and any self-confidence, and I feel like that is a real popular thing for people with AuDHD. So lately I thought, what, I can either be at the bottom, because that's where I'm going to be, I'm going to hit low, or I'm going to have to believe in myself and think about entrepreneurial stuff. And it's not something I'd ever considered before, but I see so many entrepreneurs, and they're not always, but a lot of them, if they haven't been diagnosed with neurodivergence, I'm pretty sure. Because it takes that drive and that hyper focus. But no one ever told me when I was a kid, Ellie, you're really shit at everything, but you're going to be a really good entrepreneur because you're going to focus. But I'm going to tell my daughter that. I'm not going to say I'm going to tell her that, you might not be good at, this, but you can be good at that. So I think we need to build our children's confidence so much.
Yes. And I think one of the studies I quote from incessantly is ADHDers, at least in the US, again, this is not a global study, I'm sorry. But at least in the US, they did a study with a pretty good cohort, like a pretty good number of folks in it. And kids with ADHD were given 5 times more like disciplinary statements than everybody else. So like they're hearing, you got to work harder, you're not doing good enough, maybe you're just not smart enough, you really got to focus, they're hearing that 5 times to everybody else's 1. So their self-esteem is going to be shit. And we got to do some work to and that's why I think the strength-based thing is really important, is because even if your kiddo is at school and in the world and hearing stuff, right? If they come home and their parents are like, I really noticed you working hard with this thing. I really, love how you were kind to your sister, even though you were frustrated. I appreciate you bringing your dishes to the sink. Like even little things that can build up so much, because when we notice what they're doing well, they start to notice what they're doing well, and it becomes more internalized for them. And
I don't feel like it's the parents' fault, because the thing when
it is not the parents' fault.
When I had my 3 little ones, I could see the traits of me in them, and I didn't know I was autistic or ADHD at the time. And every time they done a trait that was the same as me, I'd think, shit, don't want them to be like me. Snap out of it. So I'd see them stimming, didn't know it was stimming, and I'd be like, no, stop doing that. People are gonna laugh at you. So I wasn't intent. Now I'm armed with knowledge and I'm armed with power.
Yeah.
I broke them children's confidence quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit, and I'm going to be honest now, they'll tell you the same thing, they're in their
Mm-hmm.
20s. I can see they're not as confident children, adults, as they should be, because I spent their whole childhood saying, don't do this. But it
Yeah.
was only because
Yeah.
I was trying to protect them from being like me. And
Yeah.
because I didn't know that I was
Mm-hmm.
just different, not wrong. So I think what we need to arm all parents with the knowledge that,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And I agree with you. You do not know what you do not know. And
yeah,
a lot of us, I think, we get the diagnosis for ourselves or our kids and we are like, oh crap, I've been messing up. At some point in your process, right? In some point in
yeah.
your process, you go, oh no. And it's really hard and it feels awful.
I
And
feel
also,
sick.
you didn't know what you didn't know. The best you
Yeah.
can do is learn what you can now and move forward and just, if you have kids who are old enough, apologize. Have
Yeah.
conversations with them.
Oh, I do
didn't,
on a daily
oh
basis.
yeah. This is not advice for you personally, Ellie. I'm just like speaking to the people out there. Like,
Yeah.
you do what you can, and you're gonna fuck up. Even if you were the perfect doesn't exist. I always tell my kids this, right? But perfect doesn't exist. But even if you were somehow the perfect parent, you're gonna fuck up somehow. Like, you
Yeah.
just can't. Like, the world is too complicated. And the other thing with neurodivergence is it is a structural issue. It is not a personal problem, right? So like, your kids aren't supported in school and in jobs and in the world in general. Like, you only have so much control as a parent anyway. Like, so even if you did it perfect, they're still going to bump into challenges. And
There's
that's
so
part
many.
of why this kind of
That guy
educational
over the
stuff.
street is,
Yeah.
there's anyone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, like, yeah, you do what you can, right? And I think, like, I work as a parenting coach. We are trying to empower our kids. And also, you can do the best of any parent who has ever existed, and your kid is still going to hit challenges and struggle. And they're going to need to do some work as an adult too, as the world changes, to like figure out what they want and who they want to be and what they've sort of learned in childhood that isn't right or that they want to get rid of. Like, we all bring things forward from our childhood that like later we're like, why did I think that was true?
Yeah.
That's just part of life. And I don't think anyone needs to be blamed for that. We're all just doing the best we can. Like, your kids too, everybody.
I just think it's the more we can arm people with knowledge. If I knew then,
Yeah.
what ADHD was and what autism was, and I would have been like, okay, that makes sense. There's something, they need to help, blah blah blah. But I think I was just so busy trying to like, no, don't let them fall in the same hole. I don't want them to be bullied.
Hurt.
It's so hard as I think it's hard as a ADHD parent to ADHD children to get the balance, because your still self-worth is still kind of low from a lifetime of shit. So you still don't feel good about yourself, so you don't want your child to replicate that.
Yeah.
I think it's a minefield.
It really takes a lot of work. And I want to honor that like, for adults who are late diagnosed, you're getting a lot of information. And if you're 30, 40, 50, you have to reprocess 30, 40, 50 years of your life.
It's a lot to undo.
That's a lot. Whereas with younger folks, when I work with younger folks, it's like, okay, if they're diagnosed at 13, there's still some like certainly work to do, but
Yeah.
they're a much cleaner slate in terms of self-worth. They're
Yeah.
just going through normal teenage stuff with the ADHD stuff on top, right? So they definitely have their work cut out for them, but it's not like as hard. That's what, one of the reasons I aimed for ADHD teens. But for parents, like, I hope that they can read this book, and there's so many other good resources out there. I'm sure like both of us could direct people listening to resources that help. But for parents who are just trying to undo some of that stuff, like, there's lots of self-work to do first before you can really, work with your kids. And the other thing is, like, I've worked with people who are late diagnosed at 70 and are like,
Yeah. I've met a lot of them lately.
Yeah, I've not only messed up my kids, but I've messed up my grandkids. And it's like, maybe, but like, you still have time. Like, even if you're just here for another decade or two, that's a decade or two that like we could create a really positive relationship and a really like affirming and warm relationship with your family based on whatever you learned, right? And there's always still chances. And I don't know, it can be hard as a parent to feel like you've harmed your kids, but also like, humans are incredible. Humans can get through so much crap. Like, try to repair it and do the best you can. And they're competent, like, they're capable. they're
it's
gonna be
it's
okay.
it's a, it's a hard
Yeah,
life, let
yeah.
alone with the
All
neurodivergence
the other stuff.
and
Yeah.
everything else. What made you write the book on ADHD and not AuDHD or autism? Did you start with ADHD and then you might dabble in the next one next, or is there a reason?
Again, my really frank answer is the publisher was specifically looking for a book for ADHD teens,
That
and I'm
you
sorry
people
to be like
pleasing.
that boring, but
You
I
people
work.
pleaser.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
also just like if there's a gap, so there's tons of good books for autistic teens. I really
Yeah.
do think, and I could go to the library and pull out like 10 or 15 books. We have a quite good library, but still
Yeah.
that I would hand to autistic teens, like my
But not
autistic teens.
ADHD.
But yeah, a lot of the, and when before I pitched this book, so basically I talked to the publisher. She invited a pitch. I pitched, and it was accepted. That was like the short process. But when I was looking at like what do I want to pitch exactly, I read so many books for ADHD children and teens, like middle grade to teen, which is what my book is for, and some of them are quite good, and some of them are full of like old fashioned biased junk, um,
Yeah.
that just needs to be updated. Like also the other thing is like no shame to those authors, but the field is moving so fast. Like we have so much more work on ADHD now than we did 5 years ago, than we did
Yeah.
10 years ago, and I'm sure this thing's going to be outdated again in 5 years, which is
It's
amazing.
gonna
Like
continue. It's
that's
gonna
going to be
continue.
fantastic. I'm going to be so excited when I'm outdated, because it means we're learning more.
Yeah.
But so the other thing that I kept finding was like, and I will say, if you're looking for like a homework guide for your ADHD teen, my book is not for you. There's lots of good stuff for that. I'm really interested in helping kids develop their selves, like really leaning into, like I said, what are your values? What are your strengths? What do you want? And how do you work towards doing the things you want as opposed to doing what people say you should do, even
Yeah.
while meeting people, right? Um, those are the things that I'm really trying to help kids, and young adults focus on. And so that has like a positive psychology, solution focused coaching. Those are the terms, the SEO terms for what I'm doing. I couldn't find any other books out there that did positive psychology for ADHDers. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is a huge, because like we just talked about, strengths are so important. Like you have such strengths as an ADHDer, and
And
nobody
all we concentrate on is the negatives,
is
and
the
all anyone
deficits.
ever
Yeah,
ever concentrates on is
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
we need to spin it round and for our kids and for
Hmm.
the other youth, I think
Yeah.
is so important. I also find, so I go to a lot of things for children with
Hmm.
ADHD and autism, and it's completely on a tandem, but I'm going to be ADHD about it. There's a lot of confusion about identity and gender and
Yeah.
sexuality with our children with ADHD and autism. Is that really a thing? I've noticed
Yeah.
such a correlation lately, such
Hmm.
a big correlation, not only from my own child. I've got a trans child myself,
Yeah.
but I've noticed from going to trans things, everyone I meet there's neurodivergent.
Yeah.
It seems to be a really big correlation. Is
Hmm.
there any books and stuff out there for kids that are in that situation and they're struggling with their identity in that way?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say straight off is I'm not great at remembering like specific names. So I'm going to send you a list after this that you can give to your
Yeah.
listeners if you would like. But so first of all, for folks who are listening and can't see me, I'm a non-binary person. I'm a she, they.
Okay.
I'm on
Yeah.
that spectrum somewhere, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of us are. And we have so much research on the overlap between especially trans and autistic individuals. I think there's a lot of ADHDers in there too. And when I say trans, I'm like the transgender, queer, non-binary
Yeah.
umbrella, that everybody, right, who's in
The
there
umbrella.
somewhere. So I'm
Yeah.
not trying to like exclude anybody. I'm just being clear with my language here. So yeah, a lot of trans folks are autistic, and a lot of autistic folks are trans, and that's like
Yeah.
in the research, like we know that. And there's a lot of recent books that have come out that are quite good for like young trans autistic folks. I'm thinking specifically of Yen Perkis, who has a couple, and then there's one that's like, it might be Yen's. It's like the trans teen's guide to the Trans-Autistic Teen's Guide to Life.
So there is
really,
more material being produced.
There's more material being published, and some of it is quite good. So again, I can give you a list if you want to give it to your listeners.
Amazing.
I'll make
I love
a
an
PDF
autistic list.
Yeah. Because
send me over a spreadsheet.
I will. I wish I was more of a spreadsheet person. I get my
me too. I don't get that good type of autism.
No,
I don't get the
have
autism
the
that's good at maths either.
Oh, no. It would make my life so much easier. But no, I have the pages of notebooks autism, and then I give it to my assistant who is a spreadsheet person, and they do an amazing job.
I feel like every person that has ADHD and isn't a spreadsheet person, you need another counterpart. The person I work with, she's neurodivergent ADHD, but she's got a separate thing going on to me.
Yeah.
So she's super, she's got the good autism. I have to you turn the big light on and I'm going to freak out autism.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I have the good, what I think of myself as is I'm very good at coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
But
not executing them.
Well, I can do one or the other. So if you have an idea, and this is what I do with a coach a lot, right? If somebody comes in and they're like, I need to fix my meal plan, it is busted. And I'm like, okay, I got this. Here's how we do that. So I can execute with you on how to fix the meal plan or whatever, or change your job or start a business. Or I can come up with a really cool idea, but then the minute I have to figure out the steps to the idea, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do, and that's when I go to my assistant.
Do you think is that a executive function PDA even thing?
Yeah, I have a lot of executive function issues. I think that's why I work in executive function a lot, is because I've had to create a ton of systems myself that work for my brain and don't work for anybody else, and so I understand the need for unique, weird systems, and I can help people build them.
It's so important recently since I've been doing this. I don't even know what it is. So I've been I work as a mentor for AuDHD people. It crept on. Yeah. And then I went on social media and, I started getting thousands of followers and, something happened. I don't know. I didn't plan for it, but
that's very much what happened to me too.
Yes, something happened.
Something happened. I just tried to do my thing and something happened. Yeah.
Yes, but I can't remember my train of thought yet again. Do you remember it?
Spreadsheets and then executive function and then
executive function.
Okay.
So what I think is so important is, thanks for that, by the way.
That's okay.
What I think is so important is I've been giving people, and I didn't know that this was a thing, but it's just happened. I've been giving people language to understand their things with, because before the language for executive functioning for me was, Ellie, you're fucking lazy. Ellie, you're always slopping about. Ellie, and now I'm Ellie. I've got executive function problems.
Yes.
And it sounds so much nicer. And now people are like, I feel like I'm going to write a glossary, a glossary of, and I'm sure there's loads out there. I'm going to put it on my Facebook, Facebook's my biggest platform, of masking, because people are like, I do this. Why do I do it? No one else does it. And I'm like, no, you do it. And it's executive functioning. You do it. And it's masking. I feel like once we've got the language, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's huge. And I feel the same way that a lot of what we come in with when we're newly diagnosed is, I'm just not good at this. I'm never going to be good enough. I work so hard and I'm still bad at it. I'm lazy. All this crap, this internalized self-talk, negative self-talk crap. And part of the work, which you can do however you do it, you can do it by yourself or with a coach or with a therapist or whatever, is hearing yourself think that and go, what are some other options for what that could be? So what if you're not lazy, actually? What if there's something else going on, right?
Yeah.
And usually there is, because I gotta say, at least the folks I work with, if they're to the point of Googling stuff at 5 a.m. or working with a coach or hiring a therapist, they're working. They're not lazy. They're doing stuff.
Because I'm sure my brain works overtime. So I'm in the car going to, I don't know, meet my friend. I'm rehearsing the conversation that I'm going to have with her. I'm thinking about how she's going to react to that. I'm thinking about a conversation I had last time and how that went, so how I can change it. I'm thinking about the driving. I'm thinking about world issues because I'm a justice freak. My brain is working a lot harder than all of these different counterparts. But yet I can't make my own dinner.
Yeah. So You might also be one of my 2E people, because I think that's pretty common, is that a lot of us have, and executive dysfunction is, I just want to say, really common across neurotypes. It's
Yeah.
definitely really common in ADHDers and autistic folks, but it's also, I see it in neurotypical people too. Partly because your brain just wasn't designed to do the stuff we're asking it to do. Like, you did
Yeah.
not evolve to create a meal plan. You did not evolve to talk on Zooms all day. You did not evolve, like,
It's
that
true.
doesn't mean you can't do it.
We've become
But
artificial
yeah,
world. Yeah,
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, your brain needs some help. Like, it can't hold all that stuff by itself. We need to like give it some help, right? And that's something I do talk about a lot with clients, and also in the book, is just like, how can you give your brain help? And but also just knowing that your limits are normal. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of what I do too is, as part of my job, is just be like, I hear that this is really stressful for you and feels really emotionally hard, and also it's normal. Like, also it's pretty common for ADHDers to have executive dysfunction. It's pretty common
Yeah.
for sleep to be an issue. It's pretty normal for eating and sensitivities to be an issue. Like, it sucks and it's hard, and also you are a normal autistic person. You're not like a failed neurotypical person. You're just a normal autistic person. And I
I
think hearing that can really help folks.
I think a lot of us, we see, I've got two sisters. One's she's got the good ADHD. I
The
don't
good
know what type that
ADHD.
is,
I
but
live in hope.
she's got the successful ADHD.
Mm.
It's really worked for her. But she's ADHD, and the other one's, maybe neurotypical.
Mm.
Who knows? But they both make it all look so easy. And
Yeah.
then there's me, like the middle child, and I'm like, they are 20 years ahead of, they're younger than, well, one of
Mm.
them's younger than me, but she's 20 years ahead of
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
in, like, property and, all of these
Yeah.
things, because, and she makes it look so
Mm.
easy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of us beat ourselves up about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the ADHD attacks is real, right? Like, things are
Yeah.
harder for you, and it costs real money and real energy and real things in the real tangible world. I know I said real a lot, but it's not just in your
No,
head
it's
that
really
stuff is
true.
hard. It's like stuff, yeah, it's harder for you to make rent. It's harder for you to keep a job. It's harder for you to forget a job. It's harder for
Yeah.
you to think about dinner. Like, that's real, and it has negative effects on your life. And, there's always a balance between, yes, lean into your strengths and make plans and get support. And also, it's going to be hard. And for me, it's like, it's worth it. Like, I've gotten to a point where I'm excited enough about what I do day to day that I can handle the hard stuff. But there are days that I don't get up, or days that I forget to eat, and I'm like, what am I, 40? I'm also time blind. I think I'm 42. So, like, it's,
I have to Google.
yeah,
So a lot. I Google, if you were born in November 1986.
yeah. Oh,
How old are you? Because I don't have a clue how old I am most of the time.
I know everybody's birthdays, but I have to do the math every single time, including for
The
myself and
same.
my kids. And I guess the good word to look up is time agnosia, and that's me. I know I've usually planned out what I'm doing for the next couple hours, but if you ask me the date or the year or what month it is or the day of the week, I do not know any of those things.
I
I
thought
am
we was
very
in
good.
2027 the other day.
Yeah.
I thought
Mhm.
for all year, I thought that we were in
Yeah.
2027,
Yeah.
and I've been writing it, and I kept putting it in the, with the computerized system,
Mhm.
and it keeps saying you're putting a date in the future, and I
Yeah.
was so angry. I like, what? But
Yeah.
it isn't.
But it's, yeah, and
Is
that's
that
like,
is that an ADHD thing, or
yeah.
is
Yeah.
it?
Well, it's definitely an AuDHD thing. I guess I
Yeah.
don't know which neurotype, but I have a lot of clients who have the same kind of issue as me. And it's really challenging, right? Because, like, my clients understand that I, like, do not know what day it is, if they've worked with me for any length of
But they
time.
still work
And
with you.
yeah, well, yeah. I try to be transparent, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
somebody who has, like, real challenges, and
Yeah. Same.
I'm good at my job. Like, I take it seriously. I show up. But also, if you try to book me outside of my calendaring system that switches the time zones for me, I don't know. Like, I understand that Eastern time is 2 hours ahead of where I live in Mountain Time in the US. But that doesn't mean I'm going to reliably add two correctly every single time. I'm good at arithmetic, but it's like, time is hard for me. It's
Yeah.
really, really,
What
like,
about the
loopy.
concept? The
Yeah.
concept of it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
like, I'm good at minute to minute. Like, I'm well known for getting up 30 seconds before the oven timer goes off. Like, I can hold concrete, like 10-minute time in my head, and I don't
Yeah.
need a timer.
Yeah,
But
same.
in terms of like, once it gets bigger than like a 6 hour chunk, I just don't know anything. Like it's
Yeah,
gone.
I get that.
And I don't, and it's the same for, and I hear this from other ADHDers, like, you know how you have a best friend and you haven't talked to them for 3 years, but
I
in
heard
your
that.
brain, it's like, no, it's been like yesterday. And then
Yeah.
you look at the calendar and you're like, oh no,
It's been three
it's
years,
been three
and
years.
and sometimes they're a neurotypical friend, and
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that all neurotypical, or I'm not tarring
No, no,
people
no.
with the
But
same
there's
brushes.
different
But what I'm saying is,
cultures. Yeah.
my a lot of so my children said after I got diagnosed, like, Mum, I've seen you are diagnosing everyone in our family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
You think everyone, and I said, you know what the chances are? Most people that have stuck around me
Mm-hmm.
happen to be
Yeah.
neurodivergent, because I'm the kind of friend that I will be best friends with you and I will see you every day and I will mean well, but then I could not accidentally text you back for 3 years.
Yeah.
And this has happened.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I will get messages, horrible message, not horrible, but say, I'm so heartbroken. I
Yeah.
thought we were friends. I've had,
Mhm.
and I don't realize because I'm a really good person. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so into justice, like da 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 da.
Yeah.
So how could I forget my friend like that? But it is so many ADHD people.
Mhm.
So I think the reason why I have a lot of neurodivergent friends is because I don't think a lot of neurotypical people would say, like I say, don't turn up at my door no matter what happens. If you're having an emergency, your head's falling off, yes, you can
Yes.
come to my door, but otherwise don't ever show up at my door. And I think when I say that to neurotypical people, they look at me like what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah.
Or don't turn the light on, don't turn the light on.
Yeah.
We need to surround ourselves with people that get it sometimes, so we feel okay
Yeah.
about ourselves.
It's so complicated because it's like, the first thing is there's two different cultures, like two different sets of expectations happening, right? Like neurotypical people tend to expect friends to behave in a certain way, and
Yeah.
sometimes we can't meet that expectation, and we have to be
Yeah.
upfront about that. And then I think the other thing is like, neurotypical people create patterns faster. In like, we're slower and deeper, but they're
Yeah.
faster and shallower. As a big rule, like I'm talking about the categories of neurotypical and neurodivergent people. I'm not talking about like specific individuals.
Yeah, I understand that.
There will be exceptions, etc. But like, so if in their brain, if you're their friend, they have a friend pattern established that they can just execute. But for us, it's like every single friend, we have to repattern. We have to create
Yeah.
a new thing. And that's like a lot of work, and sometimes we're just not good at it, or we don't remember, or it's not at top of mind. I think of my friends literally every day.
Yeah,
when
me
was
too.
the last time I thought of them? When I was able to write a text or near my
Yeah.
phone, or what? Like, I don't know. Like, I can't hold the thought sometimes, and if I'm not in a place where I can write it down or do it right away, it might not happen. And that's
Yeah.
really frustrating for me too, I promise.
It is so frustrating, and
yeah.
I understand people's frustration, because I
Yes.
say to my friends, I understand. If that's why I
Yeah.
kind of call myself Ellie ADHD now, because I used to be really, people say to me, why are you calling yourself Ellie ADHD? Is it because you're trying to market yourself? But
Yeah.
actually, I found all my life people have described me as like Ellie lazy,
Yeah.
Ellie the one that talks a lot, Ellie who can't make eye contact, Ellie this, Ellie that. So now I kind of tell people up front, when I meet them, I say to them, we're going to be friends, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not a good friend.
Yeah.
I'm going to always give you my last pound, or give you my last,
Yeah.
but I probably won't call you for years.
Yeah.
I think it's just best that we just set our expectations out straight
You gotta
away.
be straight up. Yeah, you gotta be straight up. And I think that's a good rule for any kind of relationship, regardless of neurotype, because
Yeah.
it's like different humans are different too. Like I'm with you on the lights. I also have auditory sensitivities. Like
Me too.
I had a friend who always wanted to go for hikes, and I really like hikes, but I can't tolerate the heat in the summer because of one of my medications. I get sick. So instead of like finding a new thing to do, we just stopped hanging out, which sucked.
Yeah.
But it was because like I couldn't make hikes anymore, and they weren't willing to shift the thing.
The thing, yeah.
I like going out to eat. I need to be able to see the menu ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's just like one of my things. And so if you try to do it last minute with me, I might not be able to accommodate. Like I'll go, but I might just have to sit there and not eat because I like wasn't ready.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
There's a lot of, I think, like humans are tricky. We have ways we like to do things, and we can compromise, and we can like work together, and we can create a solution. But it's also like you got to be willing to work with me if you want me to work with you. I
Yeah,
want to work with you probably, but I also need processing time. And like
yeah,
I know I'm a little quirky. Like
yeah,
I got sensory sensitivities. I
yeah.
got like food stuff. I got there's things going on. I'm
There's a
telling
lot
client
going on. There's a lot
you know
going on up there.
yeah. Yeah, like you were saying when you were tracking like three different thoughts on your drive to your friend, like you're previewing the conversation, you're thinking about like how to
Like
solve other
even now,
problems.
okay?
Yeah,
So for
yeah,
example, now I'm sitting here and I've thought in this talk with you, I
hmm
thought, oh my God, I can hear my kids screaming
yeah,
downstairs. Oh, I can hear the dog across the street.
hmm
Oh my God, have I said this? Oh my God, what can I say next? Oh, have I already
yeah. It's hard
every
to
single
host.
thing is going. Could you imagine like actually never having that?
Yeah,
Like having, do neurotypical people have a
I don't
quiet
know. I
brain?
have heard people say that they went on ADHD medication and got quiet, and that's how they knew it was working. And I'm like, I can't. I have a lot more techniques than I used to. And I really like mindfulness and I use it a lot. So it's definitely quieter up there than it used to be,
Yeah,
but it's never quiet. It's never
yeah,
like completely, I mean, unless I'm 2 seconds from falling asleep, right?
yeah.
There's a story or a song or something going on up there. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's
Oh,
incredible to think about though.
it is an amazing, and I've heard a lot. This is on a tangent as well. I've heard a lot of people lately saying it. Something you said earlier sparks me thinking about it. That they think that neurodivergent might be the default,
Mm,
and we evolved into neurotypical. Is
that's
there? It,
interesting.
have you heard that?
I have not ever heard that.
Um,
Um,
because
I
basically,
I'll have to look
cavemen,
into it. Mhm,
cavemen were more like us.
mhm.
They and so therefore, and then people adapted to be like neurotypical people, and I've heard a lot of people say that recently. It's been really like, it's been something I've been thinking about a lot.
That's
Maybe
really
I am the
interesting.
original kind.
Yeah. I'd have to, I have read a couple of studies that like, sort of speculated, right? That you need, for example, ADHDers are more likely to have delayed sleep phase syndrome is the technical term. It just means you want to go to bed late and get up late, right?
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
common for an ADHD profile. I read a study that was speculating that maybe that was a neurodivergence that was to support like, you know,
Hunting.
yeah, well, hunting or like just having guards on duty all the time, like having people awake all the time if you're in a
What?
group, right? To
The
help
more I've heard about
protect.
it recently,
Yeah,
the more I've been thinking, whoa.
yeah. So like I think there's an argument to be made. Like I don't know about that specific claim about like what's original or not. I just don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
I just haven't looked
Maybe
into
none
it.
of us are.
But
Yeah.
I think yeah, right. But
It's
I
all
do
a
think
social
there's
construct.
oh yeah. I do think there's something to claim though that like diversity of any kind supports the group, right? Like
Yeah.
the more different ways we have to do things and think about things, the more likely we are to be able to solve problems, even like really
That makes
big,
sense.
scary world problems. And so I do think there's something to like, yay, the way your brain works differently is actually a huge asset to the society, not just to you as an individual, but
Yeah.
like, that's part of why I want us to like, be on podcasts and write books and, you know, do our work out in the open
Yeah,
as best
because
as
we
we
can't
can
do a nine
because
to five because we
no,
because we
never
can't
in
leave the
my life
house.
have
Yeah,
I been successful at a 9 to 5. I
I
like tried so
I
hard.
I
I
try so
can't do
hard as
it.
well, and
Yeah, it's
I go
awful.
in with my best
Yeah,
intention, and
you
I take
try.
all of the
Hmm
shifts that I
hmm
will take, and I think I'm gonna do it this time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it, and I just can't manage it. I burn out. I
yeah,
can't leave the house. I want a
hmm
job where I can stay in my pajamas if I want, and not
yeah,
have to socialize. So we need to create more of them jobs
yes.
for our people. I had a long list of questions, and I didn't ask you any of them. I'm just gonna have a quick look through before we run out of
That's
time.
fine.
Can you tell me about your diagnosis?
Yeah. I also realized that you asked me the question right in the beginning of like, who is Danielle? And then we were talking about self-identity, and I'm like, I
We've
still
been
don't know
speaking
who
about it
Danielle
ever
is.
since.
We've
Yeah.
been I guess. My diagnosis is I was diagnosed autistic when my kiddo was, and
Yeah.
then and I was like you said, I think the average for women is like 5 misdiagnoses before we hit autism or whatever the correct one is. And I was also misdiagnosed BPD and a couple other things.
Yeah,
But
me
I
too.
ended up, I mean, the ones that I have now, who knows, right, are autism and ADHD and
Yeah,
CPTSD, which
me
is,
too.
yeah,
A lot of us
pretty
have got a
common.
side of that.
Pretty
Yeah.
common, yeah. And like, you know, I have executive dysfunction. I have dyspraxia. I'm dyspraxic.
Yeah.
Like, I have all the normal autistic
Things
plus
that come hand in
diagnoses.
hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
I'm
EDS, yeah.
hyperflexible. It's all
I was
those
gonna
ones.
literally.
Yeah.
I just said any EDS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not technically EDS, and I probably
but you
won't
probably
ever
are.
hit that
Yeah.
threshold. But
I don't want to diagnose you, but you
no,
maybe
I
are.
mean,
Yeah.
I have certainly some of the traits, but I don't have
Yeah,
all the
me too.
traits. And hopefully
Yeah.
that will stay. No offense, but just because it's easier to not have
I
EDS.
don't need any
Um,
more
yeah,
diagnoses on my list, bruv.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I mean, I also am, I'm alexithymic, which emotions are different for me, if you're not familiar with that word,
I've
listeners.
never heard of
And
it.
I'm face blind, pretty
Ah,
moderate to severe face blindness. I'm good at
really?
voices, but yeah, yeah. So, I if I can plug briefly, the Neurodiverging podcast, which was my original like foray into talking about everything.
Yeah.
I have lots of episodes on like all those little things. If you're like, oh, I'm interested in face blindness, I'm like, there's an episode.
That's so good.
Yeah,
I think
because it's
because I find that
yeah.
isn't face blindness a common thing for
It's
us
really
neuro?
common for autistics and a couple
Yeah,
other, yeah, yeah,
exactly. So sometimes it's just really good to hear all different perspectives. I think
yeah.
because we're of that TikTok generation, and
Hmm.
I see so many women, and great for them, yeah. But I see so many women on TikTok that say, "Oh, I forgot my keys. I must be ADHD," and
Yeah,
I think. I forgot to go to the toilet and I pissed myself.
yep,
I'm ADHD.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
that's the
think a lot of
difference.
people make it out to be so
Yeah.
when that's why I've decided I'm going to tell the whole truth about
Hmm.
how autism affects me, how
Yeah.
you might turn the light on and I might slap myself in the head because I
Yeah.
get sensory overload,
Yeah.
because I don't want people to think ADHD is just
Hmm.
cute and losing your keys, because it's not.
It's
So
not.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
there is so many people doing podcasts on
Hmm.
all of these different perspectives, because someone might need to hear it in a sweary way that
A
I'm going to
slightly
tell
different way.
you.
Yeah.
Someone might need to hear it in a way from you.
Hmm.
I'm so glad that we're doing this.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I always like, I'm not for everybody, but I just hope that I can do something to start people. And
Yeah,
then if I'm for you, cool, stick around. I got cool stuff.
same.
If I'm not for
Yeah,
you, there's so many other people who are
other
for you.
people,
And
that's
I
what I say.
love that. I want that. Like, I'm so grateful for everybody. Like, because when I was like diagnosed, I was diagnosed in what, 2020, 2021. It wasn't that long ago. And it's
Yeah,
still like there's so much more now. It was so hard to find information from other autistic women and parents at that time. Like,
it's
everything
true.
was like how to parent your autistic child from neurotypical perspectives. Nothing was
Yeah,
about,
that
oh,
is what we've got learned experience. That's the
yeah,
same. I have a lot of everybody approaching me saying, like, what can I listen to about
yeah.
autism? And I say, you know what, I don't think I'm for you,
Hmm.
because but I can point you in the direction of my friend this, and I've
Yeah.
met so many amazing people on
Hmm.
podcasts. So it's great to have that wealth of information about
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Um, Another question I had for you, before we run out of time, what is the biggest mistake parents worry they're making?
Ooh, what is the biggest mistake parents worry they're making?
With their neurodivergent children?
Oh, I have a couple of thoughts. Okay. I don't know if I can give you one, but let me give you a really quick like couple. So
Okay.
one is I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
They worry they're not doing enough. Usually they're doing what is at their capacity and at their kids' capacity, and therefore it is enough, is my quick answer to that.
Yeah. That
You can
makes
always
sense.
do more. You can always do less. You just got to do what you can do and
Yeah.
try to let the rest go. Um, the second thing I hear from parents of teens a lot is like they're worried about the launch, like the kid leaving the home or whatever. Um, and for that, I always say like a lot of I struggled in retrospect going to college. Like I did
Yeah.
it, but it was hard. And I think you just have to have real frank conversations with your person about like what is doable for them and what's not, and schedule it
Especially
ahead of time.
when you feel like
Yeah.
as a parent that your children are vulnerable, and then there is
Yeah.
that extra level of
Yeah.
vulnerability that
Yeah.
comes with neurodivergent
Hmm.
children.
Yeah.
So it is a scary time, so I
Yeah.
think that's really appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're scared, there's an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Is a thing that I have personally learned. If you feel scared, if you can figure out what you feel scared about, you have the opportunity to sort of address it, you know? And
Yeah.
so shying away from it isn't really serving you or your kiddo. You got to
Yeah.
be a little brave. You got to kind of be a little
But
bit
it's
on.
sometimes,
Yeah.
it's easier said than done.
It
And,
is. Oh, it
I
certainly is.
can understand why some people put it off and put it
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
but then you wake up and it's too late. So,
Yeah.
we've got to
Hmm.
embrace it now. Is
Yeah.
there anything that you're currently working on, or anywhere where we can find you? Where can we find you? If you're for my people that are listening, where can they
Yeah.
find you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm at neurodiverging.com. It's
I've
like
put, I
neurodivergent,
linked
except
you on
getting.
Facebook earlier, so I put all your links
Oh,
and
thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, we, I'm on the socials. I'm not the most active on the socials. I'm
Hmm.
trying. I just don't actually. I like talking to real humans like this, but
Yeah.
I'm not actually good at or interested really in talking to all the algorithms.
Yeah,
But I
yeah, yeah.
am. I am there. I have a pretty active YouTube channel.
Is
That's
that your is that your platform that so my go-to platform was
yeah.
Facebook. I don't know how to work Instagram or LinkedIn or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is YouTube your one you're most familiar with?
It's YouTube and the podcast are where I'm
Yeah.
most likely to be. And
Where are
then
your podcasts on? All platforms.
everywhere. It's called Neurodiverging because that was the first thing I
Okay.
did. So you can
Yeah.
just Google the name and I'll be there. And then the other thing is we do have our own community group. It's not on Facebook or anything because
Yeah.
I personally just wanted to get away from that and no judgment
Yeah.
on
I
anybody
get
else.
that.
So you can get information. It's a free group and it's other neurodivergent adults. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, like checking out, you can come to our website and there's a community button and you can join the community.
I
You can
love
also find
this.
info on the book there. We have tons of blog articles. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now. Lots of podcasts, lots of cool stuff to get involved with if you want.
And what's next? Well, what is next for you as an AUDHD woman? What
Yeah,
is next? What do you think? You're executing shit now. You've
I'm
got a
trying.
book. You're teaching people strategies.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the pipeline that might be coming?
Right now, I'm really working on the book launch, and
Yeah,
then like I have lots of writing projects. I don't know what will get finished first. I'm always working on podcasts. That's always coming, and
yeah,
I teach classes, or it's more like coaching programs, really, a couple
yeah.
times a year. We have one on resetting your inner critic, and we have
Good one.
yeah, that one is so important. I feel like
So
for
necessary.
yeah, and we do one called the Aligned Momentum Energy Lab. That is like a 5 day like get your shit together kind of vibe.
Yeah,
In
there's
a kind,
a
compassionate
a
way.
kick up the arse vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like figure out your it's in a week, figure out your values, figure out your capacity and energy, figure out what you want to get done this quarter, and make a plan
yeah,
to do it. And I'll help you. Obviously, I'll help you.
yeah, yeah.
So we run stuff like that all the time. So you can get on the mailing list if you're interested in hearing about it. But yeah,
Honestly, amazing. Thank you so, so much, Danielle, for
thank you
spending
so
time
much,
with us
Ellie.
today. It's been such a, I don't know, like I had a list of questions, but sometimes I just chuck the questions out the window and it just flows and it's just flowed. Sometimes you find a similar neurotype to yourself and you're like, okay,
Awesome.
I'll just roll with it.
I
Um,
love being on a podcast because I get just to talk to somebody for an hour about really interesting stuff.
which is
Yeah, thank you so
ironic because
much.
I don't love talking to people, but I love talking to people on it's
Yeah,
that thing,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
It's a
But
very specific
honestly,
skill.
it is a
It's fun.
very specific skill. I
Yeah.
think Liam Neeson said that before. But
Uh-huh.
honestly, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me sincerely. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited for people to listen to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I will. So I don't edit anything, and I
Yeah,
will be
that's
releasing
fine.
it later today. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
wow.
say
Okay,
bye.
you're quick.
Yeah. Oh, if it don't get done, it will never get done.
Yeah, I understand that.
But
The one
I'm gonna
thing.
say bye to the listeners, and I'm gonna
Oh,
stick
sorry,
around for a
sorry.
minute. Thank you. Okay, bye, listeners. Bye.